At 55, Jack Nicklaus had 18 major championships, worldwide fame, and a legacy no golfer could touch. So why was the greatest champion in golf entering the most painful chapter of his life? Behind the Golden Bear's success were physical breakdowns, brutal financial pressure, family wounds, and private losses that trophies could never repair. Fans celebrated the victories, but few understood what those victories had cost, or how quickly his control began disappearing once the cheers faded. Was Nicklaus simply facing the natural end of his career, or carrying a deeper tragedy hidden behind golf's most respected name? Subscribe now, because the heartbreaking truth about Jack Nicklaus goes far beyond an aging golf swing. Before we uncover the losses that changed him, we need to examine the pressure building beneath his greatest years. First, the number 55 needs context. In 1995, Nicklaus was not some forgotten champion wandering around ceremonial fairways. He won the tradition, defeating Isao Aoki in a playoff, and finished inside the top 10 in all 7 senior events he entered. Most professionals would call that an incredible season. For Jack, however, success came with a cruel comparison. Every new performance was measured against the almost impossible standard created by his younger self. That difference matters because Nicklaus had built his identity around beating the best players in the hardest tournaments. His record included 6 Masters victories, 5 PGA championships, 4 U.S. Opens, and 3 Open championships. Add 73 PGA Tour titles, and the resume becomes almost ridiculous. Golf fans argue about greatness for entertainment, but 18 majors remain the number everyone chases. Tiger Woods reached 15 and made the debate fierce, yet Jack's target still stands. Unfortunately, records do not stop the body from changing. Nicklaus admitted after joining the senior circuit that he wanted to play like himself, but could not play like himself anymore. That sentence exposed the real conflict. Ordinary decline is difficult enough. Imagine experiencing it while television replays constantly show the stronger, sharper version of you producing shots that your current body can no longer repeat. At 55, he could still win against senior competition, but regular tour dominance had disappeared. The swing that survived pressure from Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Lee Trevino, and Tom Watson was becoming less dependable. Distance declined, recovery became harder, pain demanded attention. Golf had not suddenly made Nicklaus untalented. Time had simply changed the physical tools behind the talent. Here comes the irony. The public often tells aging athletes to accept decline gracefully, then criticizes them the moment their performance looks ordinary. Apparently, champions are expected to retire at the perfect second, smile beautifully, and never show frustration. Leave early and fans accuse them of quitting. Stay too long, and everybody asks why they are embarrassing themselves. What a wonderfully fair arrangement. Nicklaus refused to disappear on anyone else's schedule. 3 years after turning 55, he tied for 6th at the 1998 Masters despite serious pain in his left hip. That result was extraordinary for a 58-year-old competing at Augusta, but the physical cost could not be ignored. Eventually, the damaged hip required replacement surgery. His body was sending a message that competitive pride did not want to hear. Back trouble also became part of his later life. Decades of violent rotation, repeated practice, tournament travel, and pressure had collected their payment. Viewers see a smooth swing and think golf looks gentle. Try twisting your spine at full speed for more than half a century. Then tell everyone how relaxing it feels. The scoreboard records birdies. It does not record every painful morning required to produce them. Physical decline was only one layer. Long before age took control of his swing, Nicklaus endured financial trouble that threatened everything built around his name. Reports later revealed that he faced deep financial crises twice after trusting other people with major business decisions. Around the period of his famous 1986 Masters victory, risky investments connected to his company reportedly left him responsible for more than $100 million. Consider that contrast. Millions watched Jack raise his putter on Augusta's 17th green as he completed one of sport's greatest Comebacks. Away from those celebrations, financial danger was growing around his family and business interests. A green jacket could strengthen his legend, but it could not erase debts or repair bad deals. Even the Golden Bear had to confront the possibility that success on Sunday might be followed by disaster on Monday. Later, business losses reportedly reached tens of millions more, forcing another rebuilding effort. Nicklaus did not simply lend his name to a few golf shirts and collect easy checks. Course design, property development, licensing, and brand management created an empire with real risks. When those ventures struggled, his reputation became attached to every failure. Fame made the victories larger, but it also made the mistakes impossible to hide. Money, though, was not the deepest wound. Jack's father, Charlie Nicklaus, died from pancreatic cancer in 1970 at only 56. Charlie had introduced his son to golf, supported his ambitions, and taught him to protect the family name. Years afterward, Jack still struggled to discuss that loss without becoming emotional. Major trophies filled cabinets, yet the person whose approval mattered most never lived to see the full scale of what his son created. That grief influenced the way Nicklaus approached fatherhood. He and Barbara raised 5 children while his career demanded constant travel. Their family established a rule that he would not remain away for more than 2 weeks at a time. Such balance sounds simple until you remember that professional golf rewards players for chasing tournaments across countries and continents. Jack sometimes skipped events because family mattered more than another appearance fee or trophy. Critics could call that reduced ambition. Nicklaus viewed it differently. Winning meant little if his children remembered him only through television. Tiger Woods later praised Jack's ability to balance golf and family, an achievement that rarely appears beside tournament statistics. Perhaps the most impressive part of the Golden Bear story is not that he won 18 majors, but that his children still wanted him nearby after the galleries went home. Then came the loss that shattered the entire family. In March 2005, Jack's 17-month-old grandson, Jake, died after falling into a hot tub at the family's Florida home. The death was ruled an accident, but official language cannot describe what followed. Jake was the son of Steve and Krista Nicklaus. Jack publicly called the loss devastating and said words could not capture what the family was experiencing. Suddenly, golf became irrelevant. Nicklaus said he had zero plans for the game during the rest of that year, because supporting Steve and Krista mattered more. Think about what that admission means from a man who had organized almost his entire life around competition. Not even Augusta could demand attention from a grandfather, watching his son endure the worst pain a parent can face. Barbara later described the tragedy as a double blow. Grandparents suffer their own grief while also witnessing their child lose a baby. Nothing about that pain fits neatly into a sports documentary. There is no comeback putt, playoff, or trophy presentation capable of reversing it. The family instead carried Jake's memory into charitable work, supporting children, creating purpose without pretending the loss had somehow become acceptable. Nicklaus eventually appeared at the 2005 Masters and ended his professional career at St. Andrews later that summer. His final Open included a birdie on the 18th hole and a long farewell from the crowd. Television presented a beautiful ending, and visually it was. Emotionally, however, that season was shaped by something far larger than retirement. Golf was saying goodbye to a champion while his family was learning how to live with an empty place that could never be filled. This is where the title becomes clearer. The tragedy of Jack Nicklaus was not one bad round at 55 or one afternoon when younger players passed him. That age marked the stage when the public story began moving from domination toward reflection. Behind that transition sat accumulated pain. His father's death, business pressure, physical decline, and later the unbearable loss of Jake. Still, life had another bitter contest waiting. In 2007, Nicklaus sold major intellectual property rights connected to his business and the Golden Bear brand in a deal reportedly worth $145 million. He later left the company bearing his name after the relationship deteriorated. What followed was the sort of legal mess that sounds too absurd, even for professional golf. The company eventually tried to restrict how Nicklaus could use his own name, image, and likeness in business. Read that again. Jack Nicklaus, one of the most recognizable athletes in history, found himself fighting over the commercial use of Jack Nicklaus. Apparently, winning 18 majors is easier than escaping the fine print attached to your own identity. Worse allegations followed. Nicklaus argued that the former company spread false claims suggesting he had considered a $750 million offer to support the Saudi-backed LIV Golf League. He denied that story and emphasized his loyalty to the PGA Tour. The dispute also involved claims questioning his mental fitness and suggesting dementia. Those suggestions attacked more than a business deal. They challenged his judgment, character, and ability to control his legacy. For someone taught by his father to protect the family name, that battle struck at the center of everything. Nicklaus had spent decades turning his surname into a symbol of excellence. Now, the organization carrying that surname was accused of damaging it. Sarcasm almost writes itself. Build the brand, sell the business, and eventually hire lawyers to prove you are still entitled to be yourself. A Florida jury sided with Nicklaus in 2025 and awarded $50 million in damages against Nicklaus companies while clearing the individual executives of personal liability. Another legal decision protected his ability to use his own identity in future ventures, although the company retained certain trademark rights. Winning provided vindication, but nobody should confuse a courtroom verdict with recovered time. By then, Nicklaus was 85. Instead of enjoying a quiet retirement, he had spent years defending his reputation against a company connected to his own legacy. The case showed why athlete ownership matters. Contracts signed during strong business relationships can become cages when trust collapses. Modern players watching this fight should understand that a famous name has value only if its owner keeps meaningful control over how that name is used. Reactions across golf revealed enormous sympathy because Nicklaus was never treated as an ordinary retired player. Fellow champions viewed him as the standard. Fans measured Tiger's chase against Jack's 18. Tournament organizers treated his presence like living history. Therefore, seeing him struggle physically or legally carried unusual weight. People were not merely watching an older golfer. They were watching the sport's most stable monument confront human limits. Yet sympathy should not become exaggeration. At 55, Nicklaus was not destroyed, abandoned, or finished. He won a senior major that year and another one in 1996, the final official victory of his career. Accuracy makes the story stronger because the real heartbreak sits inside the contradiction. He remained good enough to defeat elite senior players while knowing the dominant version of himself was disappearing. That distinction separates honest drama from cheap fiction. Jack did not need an invented divorce, secret illness, or fake death announcement to make his life emotional. Reality already supplied more than enough. A body worn down by competition, enormous financial exposure, the deaths of his father and grandson, and a late legal war over the meaning of his own name. What does all of this mean for the PGA Tour? First, the organization depends heavily on legends but cannot treat them as permanent marketing machines. Ceremonial tee shots create nostalgia, yet those appearances also expose age and vulnerability. Tour leaders should celebrate former champions without turning every physical limitation into content designed for shocked reactions. Second, Nicklaus represents a standard of loyalty that now feels almost ancient. He defended the PGA Tour during the LIV conflict, even while his former company was linked to allegations involving a massive Saudi offer. Current stars move through a sport divided by guaranteed money, signature events, shrinking fields, and boardroom politics. Jack's position reminds everyone that loyalty still carries emotional power, but loyalty must run both ways. Third, his business problems offer a warning for younger golfers. Prize money can look endless during a successful career. Endorsement deals appear safe when every brand wants access. However, control can disappear through one agreement, and poor decisions can threaten wealth much faster than a missed cut. Players need independent advice, clear ownership rights, and the courage to question anyone managing their future. Most importantly, Nicklaus changed how greatness is measured. 18 majors remain the headline, but his response to loss reveals more about the man. He supported his family after Jake's death, helped turn grief into children's charity, rebuilt after financial crises, endured surgery, and fought publicly for his reputation. None of those victories came with a green jacket. Some viewers will still ask whether tragedy is too dramatic. That question is fair. Nicklaus enjoyed extraordinary success, a long marriage, a large family, and influence stretching far beyond competition. Calling his entire life tragic would be nonsense. The heartbreaking element lies in the price attached to that success and the painful events no amount of privilege could prevent. Nicklaus answered by remaining involved as a course designer, tournament host, philanthropist, mentor, husband, father, and grandfather. His competitive identity weakened, but his value did not vanish with it. That lesson deserves more attention than another debate about swing mechanics. Retirement removes a scoreboard, not a person's purpose. Ultimately, the tragedy surrounding Jack Nicklaus is beyond heartbreaking because greatness offered no exemption from ordinary pain. At 55, the decline of his dominant career became impossible to ignore, even as he continued winning on the senior stage. Later years brought deeper losses and harsher battles, proving that the toughest stretch of his life began after most fans believed the hard work was already finished. Maybe that is why his story still hits golf audiences so powerfully. Viewers remember the raised putter at Augusta, the yellow shirt, the charging finish, and the record nobody has broken. Behind those images stands a man who lost people he loved, watched his body change, risked financial ruin, and defended his own name in court. Drop your opinion in the comments. Does Jack Nicklaus remain the greatest golfer ever? Or has Tiger Woods already passed him despite the major difference? Hit like if you respect what the Golden Bear gave to the game, subscribe for more golf stories hiding behind the headlines, and share this video with another fan. Because the final truth is simple. Jack Nicklaus conquered golf, but golf could never protect Jack Nicklaus from life.